I've become quite familiar with regions as well. And what's really nice is that more recent birth certificates are really standard. Do you know what I mean? Like an Ecuadorian birth certificate right now in Ecuador is pretty much standard. And if somebody gets an updated birth certificate, it will often be kind of the same thing and it's much shorter. So up here, again, I have no idea what CRUIP means, which is in this corner. So I'm just going to say identification number. I might also just put CRUIP in big letters and then put A, 3H. It is not essential that I understand what that means. You know, this is the serial number. I'm also not going to translate this little barcode here. And again, kind of as Elisa said, all of these things here, like the register, it says they had to like check a box, like registry, notary, and then the number, or consulate. So if none of that is filled in, I feel like you're fine just translating the word notary and then moving on to code 1058, which is I think the code for the particular notary. You know, and then in some cases, you know, you could certainly go to the trouble of doing that entire tiny line up above, but I might just say something like country of Colombia, municipality or state of Cundinamarca, town of Bogota, you know what I mean? Or you can also just have it kind of listed with colons, which is what Elisa likes to do. I think this is all pretty straightforward. We've got a blood type here. Again, it's really interesting what certain registries put down and what others don't. And that obviously changes by the year. Again, remembering to, I think, spelling out months and days, and maybe even putting in parentheses next to them the numbers for the day is not a bad idea. I'm sometimes lazy about it, but as we all know, dates can be different in different countries, you know what I mean? So like, make it super clear what that date is never gonna hurt. Can you go down a little bit more? So like, again, like I'm not gonna, I can probably, yeah, I'm sure that this is Alvaro's signature. I'm probably just gonna put signature of declarant or signature fingerprint. I think it's kind of obvious that it's a fingerprint because they also are gonna have the version in the other language in front of them. So they're not super concerned that there's a fingerprint at the bottom of it. They're more concerned about what the information is that's contained there. Keep going. Official seal of the registry, official seal of Colombia. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to go crazy with any of these. And then, okay, so this is, oh, it's NUIP, not CRIP. But, so this is my translation. And keep going. So you can see that I did kind of break some of it up. You know what I mean? Like, and I didn't even break down what was the country. I mean, I think obvious. Do you know what I mean? Like, what was the state and the country certificate of live birth? Keep going down. Official seal, stamp, and signature of the 52nd notary, civil registry, signature of the head of notary, and the father of the child. So, anyway, so on the back there was something that I ended up translating, but you guys don't need to worry about that unless I ask you to do it in particular. Keep going. And then I did date signature, whatever. Okay, this is from El Salvador. So like, I feel like the PDFs did kind of weird shortenings of things. Did you guys ever see that? Okay, anyway, it doesn't really matter, but I'm like, I didn't have like words that were together in my original translation. Don't do that, don't have words that are together if you can avoid it. So you can see that this is, some countries are bigger on seals and there's some up at the top. This is a much shorter format, this particular person's birth certificate. Keep going. Trying to think if there's anything else exciting to see. No. And then last but not least, this is somebody from Guatemala, Honduras? Guatemala. And it's a completely different format. Again, so this says Código Único de Identificación. Every country is going to have a different national ID number. This might be what that is, or you just translate it as unique identification code, you know what I mean? But don't get hung up on those particular things, because that's not what they're looking for. If they were asking for somebody to prove their national ID number, they would be asking for an actual ID document, which would have that number very clearly written. So yes, yeah. So yeah, so let's look at marriages really quickly. Any questions about what I've gone over so far? Yeah.
More curiosity, can we go back to the El Salvador?
Sure.
I think I need
Yeah.
Nacido en esta ciudad, and like,
Yes,
what?
yes, I know. Yes, some places are really fond of like saying things like born in this city or originally from this part, you know what I mean? So then you just have to go back and, so somewhere on here, then it does matter on the seal for your own, you know, knowledge of it. So it says, let's see, so sometimes what will happen is like there will be a notary, like the notary statement at the top of it will say something like, I, Brooke Mead, notary of Bogota, Colombia, number 52. And then it'll be like, child born in the city. So it's Bogota where the child was born. And so up here in the seal, what does this say? Can I see it? I'm trying to see. I'll bet you that if it's not somewhere, let me look on this particular, I have an actual copy. So this says, okay, so this says, it says San Salvador, El Salvador, okay? So if the words San Salvador don't appear anywhere else on the certificate, which I don't think that they do, that's the place where the person was born. So again, the official seal of San Salvador, you know what I mean, El Salvador. And this one also is an official, there's two seals that say San Salvador, which is the capital, and that is where he was born. And sometimes they'll say parents originally from, and again, they'll be like, this city. It is the city where the child was born. It is the city where the notary is. Make sense? Yes.
So then when we're actually translating, should we refer to the seal or should we just fill it in and write the city?
Most of the time, it's going to say, again, you can see that they vary quite a bit. Most of the time, it's going to actually say the name of the city, and it's going to be super obvious in another place, like that last one had Bogota. However, you know, again, I feel like in this particular case, for a lot of my translations, I will simply do for that seal, like I usually put like official seal of, I sometimes do the country. If it really looks like a registry seal, I'll say like official seal of registry of El Salvador. In this case, you guys are gonna notice that there's no town. So I think it would be important when you put in parentheses, official seal of San Salvador, El Salvador. Do you know what I mean? Because then when it's referring back to it, don't put San Salvador, you're gonna put what's on there. And that's a really good question, right? Like, I mean, that's what translation is official seal of this city. But if immigration looks at it, there really is a little seal, and it really does say San Salvador, El Salvador. So like, they're not gonna like argue like, well, that's really unclear where you're born. It's actually pretty clear where the person is born, and they're not gonna argue that fact. Yes?
So in that case, would you translate this city? Or would
No,
say
you would just put born in the city. You know what I mean? So like this particular thing says, in Spanish it says, okay, sexo masculino nació en esta ciudad, born in this city. You know, you're not going to put San Salvador because they didn't put San Salvador. So like again, that's another really good point about translation is we're not supposed to be inferring things unless if you want to make some inferences of your own and put translator's note, you know what I mean, colon in parentheses, that's fine. But otherwise, even if it's unclear, you're translating just what's on there. But you also have to understand that this person's probably filled out 5 applications where it's asked the city of their birth, and they've put San Salvador, San Salvador, San Salvador. And they're not trying to, unless they got some sort of Interpol hit on the person, on like somebody with the same identifying information born in Nicaragua, like they're not trying to contest like where the person was born. It's more of like a official verification that you are who you say you are. You know what I mean? Like, and there's a lot of other, it's one piece of evidence of your identity, but they're generally not looking to question a person's identity for any of this. It's more of like bureaucracy and official paperwork. Any other questions? Okay. Marriage, again, you can see that Ecuador, their marriage certificates, and Colombia as well, they're really similar to their birth certificates. Many countries have a very, very similar format. Again, for a lot of countries for a long time, things were handwritten, you know what I mean? So something to keep in mind. And also, it's not that, it's not like I expect you to guess on what something is, but for example, if you can clearly read, it says in Guayaquil, province of, and you're like, what does that word say? It's easy enough to Google what province Guayaquil is, and then say it's Guayas, and then you could look at it and say like, ah, that is Guayas, you know what I mean? Like that makes sense, you know what I mean? So sometimes I'll have that. Or like you can't read 16, but later the number is written out. So keep going through the translation because sometimes a name is written more than once and you can't read it the first time.